you always got to make sure like, you're putting your personality and your, authenticity at the forefront and being unapologetically you. That is like the one like biggest learning I think about portraying relationships online is just show up and be you. Like people love that shit.
Welcome to CEOs on Video, the show to help you go from being the head of your business to the face and voice of your brand. If you're a CEO, a business owner, an entrepreneur who is involved in bringing a new business for your company, then you need to be putting out content. You are the subject matter expert in your business, and there's no one who can market it better than you can. In this show, I interview experts who are killing it online, using video, using digital media to grow their business, and we're going to show you how you can be doing the same. Relationships are everything in business and quite frankly in life. I've said that for a long time, that marketing is a lot like dating, and today's guest is somebody who knows that better than most. Anytime I see him online, feels like a breath of fresh air because he just seems to get it. As soon as you talk to him, you know that he approaches things differently. He's exceptionally competent in multiple areas of business like design, photography, video, marketing, automation, strategy, and communication. Justin Veenema has built two amazing relationship-driven businesses in the creative space, and I've been a fan of his work for the past couple of years. He's the founder of Photos for Tinder, a successful operation, wildly successful operation, that is on a mission to make online dating suck less by giving you incredible photos that capture your charisma, your confidence, and your personality. He's also the founder of Brand Stories, a video agency designed to tell your story, increase awareness, and convert more customers for small businesses located in Victoria, British Columbia. I've wanted to sit down with you for a longer conversation for a while now, and I'm really glad that it's happening. So thank you for being here, Justin.
Dude, thanks for having me. And damn, what an intro. I don't even know what to say. That's the nicest string of words anyone's ever put together for me. So yeah, thanks, man.
It's well-deserved. I mean, I didn't cover, any of your many stopping points along your career, but just at like a high level, I know you started in design school and went into tech and had a kind of a couple of transition points. Do you want to just give like the high level of like where you kind of came from and what got you to where you are now?
Yeah, totally. So I went to school for graphic design because when I was, I think 14, my parents got a computer that had Photoshop on it, and I liked playing with Photoshop. So I'm like, I think I'll be a good graphic designer. I went through and I realized in the first year, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is like exactly what I thought it would be. I thought graphic design would be more about marketing and more about, the online space. And it wasn't in a lot of ways. So I graduated and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out west. I moved to Vancouver. I didn't know anybody, but I had this like thought in my mind that I wanted to work at a startup, and I didn't even really know what that is, but I knew they had ping pong tables and beer on tap. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to go out west and try to find that. And yeah, within the first year, I was able to get in at a startup called Clearly.ca. I started in customer success just on the phones, and then transitioned over to marketing pretty quickly. And I found myself in the community and social media realm, which I was like, hey, this isn't exactly what I want to do, but it's a step in there. Spent a couple years in tech. I worked at Unbounce for a number of years and then went to some smaller tech teams and different startups. And then I actually moved into a marketing agency where I was like, now I can actually kind of work on the things I wanted to work on and see what kind of impact that has. I was there for maybe 6 to 8 months, and I recognized pretty quickly, I was like, this is cool and all, but I think I want to move into video. I was watching a lot of Peter McKinnon at the time, a lot of Matty Hapoya and Potato Jet. And I was like, you know what? These guys look like they're having so much fun. Like, I can do that. I had a Sony A7 III at the time, and I was like, yeah, I think this does video. And I transitioned into video, and I opened Brand Stories. I opened Photos for Tinder roughly around the same time. And both of those businesses were like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but like, let's see if all the skills that I've, learned and picked up over the years, let's see if I can combine them into something that makes sense to someone else externally. And luckily, as it unfolded, both of the businesses ended up working, which I'm really, really grateful for and really proud of. But yeah, it was kind of a ping pong journey to get to where I'm at. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never thought I would be like an entrepreneur. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah. And I think those journeys are, I've heard more stories like that of like went into one thing and completely landed like somewhere on the periphery, like not quite where I was looking, but like all of the stepping stones independently make little sense. But you put them all together and like the skills you gain over those times, like they just keep compounding. And I think, it's all like the startup experience probably gave you the kind of raw material to work with when you stepped into a business you knew little about and had that kind of like experience figuring things out.
100%. There's so many things that I learned working in tech that like I never thought I would use outside of working in tech. But I mean, one of them is like different frameworks for how to prioritize projects and get things done. There's like a Scrum model. There's like a Kanban board. Like one of the most effective things that I learned on prioritization, like we had an incredible developer team at Unbounce, and I would walk over to their pod because I was just like curious of how their brain worked. And to prioritize projects and shipping features, they would literally have sticky notes and put them into 3 columns: backlog, doing, and done. And they would all stand there and try to like figure out which ones to prioritize. And the goal was to have very, very little things in the doing and tons of stuff in the backlog and tons of stuff in done, but slowly deciding, okay, we are working on this and not these. These are still a priority, but not right now. Seems like such a simple thing, and seems like, a bunch of developers would be able to find a higher tech solution. But I use that to this day. I have a board on my window with sticky notes, and it keeps me in check. And I don't think I would have learned that otherwise.
Yeah, which is huge, especially whenever you are now you're wearing all the hats, you're figuring things out. You are now responsible for any and all momentum. Like you have to be the one making something happen. You have to be pretty diligent on like what you don't do more often than what you do.
Yeah, and that's been, that's definitely been a challenge in all the businesses and everything. I'm sure you can relate. I mean, I've followed your journey as well. Like you have the video production, you're doing this podcast. I watched some episodes. Like you got a bunch of shit going on that it can be tough to juggle all of the things. I'm sure you're going to get off this call and respond to an email from a client and then go do some video editing. And like, it can be tough wearing all the hats. So knowing how to prioritize and where to prioritize is like really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main things that I wanted to talk to you about, like something I think you do really well, and I've seen you do this multiple times, is you're really good at like making genuine connection through the medium of the internet. And like you've done that now in kind of like the two media sides of photography and connecting people in a dating realm, but also doing it with businesses, with brand stories. And I think there's just kind of an overhanging theme of developing relationships through digital media. To give you a question to work with there is, I've always kind of seen dating and like the relationships in dating being very similar to the relationships of business. And you've taken that concept and built, businesses around it. So my question is, from the process you've developed to help people kind of showcase themselves in that powerful, genuine, attractive way to get more matches on sites like Bumble and Tinder, how can we as business owners take some of that process and attract people to us in a professional sense?
Oh, what a good question. What a good question. Okay. So when it comes to online dating, a lot of people think that you go to Tinder, you just make a profile, it asks you for some photos, so you're like take a selfie and fill in the bio, and especially I feel like guys they look at it as like, okay, created profile, check, photo, check, bio, check. Like they check the boxes as if it's a 1 or 0 equation. Like I showed up, I did my part, now it's time for Tinder to give me all the matches. And that's not quite how it works. There's a big difference between putting a photo, a little selfie, and showing a photo that communicates your confidence and charisma and your personality, and shows you in your best light. There's a massive difference between those two things. There's a big difference between filling out the bio saying, I'm man looking for woman, let's grab coffee, and having like a bio that really tells who you are and talks about what you bring to the table and what you're looking for. And it should be no surprise to anyone, hopefully, that the latter is a much better way to attract the people that you're looking for, and filter out the people that you're not looking for. When it comes to business, one of the things that I decided very early on in both businesses, and I might get some negative flack for this, and I don't recommend most people do this, but one of the things that I decided early on was that for me, I wanted to make sure that if any client found me or was introduced to me, that they would be convinced through looking at the website that that they would convert. Like I made a very conscious decision. I'm going to spend days, if not weeks, on this website to make sure I answer every question, to make sure that I'm putting the best foot forward, to make sure that they feel comfortable moving forward with me, and also so that I'm filtering out the clients that I don't want to have. And luckily for me, that worked out very well, because I then didn't have to be super, super, super good at sales, because the website was super, super good at sales. And not to say that like I didn't then build relationships and everything else. I did, but you have to look at the relationships and how you build them, not just from like how you as a person build them, but how your brand and your business builds those relationships as well. When someone signs up on Photos for Tinder, they will often say like, I read everything on the website and I feel like I know your team now. And that's great, because like they didn't even have to talk to us. When it was Brand Stories, when I was working predominantly in that business, it was very similar. And one of the things I learned about that in the relationship building is that like people want to hire you for you. It's not always about your portfolio. It's not always about like, these are the brands that I worked with. They, people work with people, people hire people. So the more that you can kind of inject your personality into it and really show kind of who you are and what you bring to the table, I think the better that tends to work. On Brand Stories, if I look into my analytics, like the second most popular page is the about page. And like it should be the portfolio and all this other stuff, but it's the about page because people want to know who am I hiring, right? So yeah, like building the relationships in person and online, and making sure that that's a cohesive experience. When someone goes to your website and they read through, it's in a certain tone of voice. When they talk to you, it's in the same tone of voice. It's a cohesive experience. And I think a lot of people will build a website and try to talk like there's someone else, like there's someone bigger or better or grander. And in my opinion, people see through that shit. Like I swear, and I swear on the websites, actually. You got to maybe like dig to find it, but I'm not showing up wearing khakis and a button-up shirt. I'm showing up in like jean shorts and a t-shirt. So I want that style and kind of like voice and tone to come through in all of the other places. And yeah, like building the relationship is important in business, important in life. But the most important thing is that you're building the relationships based on your actual values and who you actually are, and not on a front. If pretend to be someone else in your business and on your website, and then they meet you and there's a disconnect, oof, that's bad. If you pretend to be someone else on your dating profile and then they meet you, oof, that's even worse. So you always got to make sure like you're putting your personality and your authenticity at the forefront and being unapologetically you. That is like the one like biggest learning I think about portraying relationships online, is just show up and be you. Like people love that shit.
It can be really uncomfortable at first, and I think there are some generational things that come into play, but I think the reality is everyone has a little bit of hesitation to be put in a vulnerable spot. And that's what it is. Like, if you're not vulnerable, how can you expect any real connection beyond surface level.
I think we see this with YouTubers. If you follow like YouTubers, like some big YouTubers from the beginning, they often start off as kind of a little bit more generic and a little bit more safe. And they're like, today we are going to talk about this. And then over time, they become more comfortable with showing who they really are and talking in their own, authentic voice, and then dialing that up to 11. An example that that I like to share, for better or for worse, is Peter McKinnon. Like, if you watch a Peter McKinnon video now, he is like volume 11 Peter McKinnon, unapologetically like, what's up, right? He was always kind of like that, but it was a little bit tame. It was a little bit safer. So yeah, it's something I think everyone deals with. I struggle with it all the time as well. But finding that confidence in yourself and being unapologetically you, I think, is really key to building those relationships.
Absolutely. And I think what you said about people wanting to just set up their profile and like kind of just check the boxes of like, okay, I know I need to have one, and I'm just going to like put something out there, and it's like the 4% of me. I think people kind of do that with their online presence in like the professional world. Like, they have a LinkedIn, but it's like a headshot from 7 years ago, and the about is written in third person, which is super awkward. And they engage once a month, and it's just very kind of like, oh, I need to be here and I need to like kind of check the box, but it's not actually, I'm not committed to it. And I think people can tell.
So I think what you're getting at is something that I've put a lot of thought into this about, like, especially like we're in a couple of video production groups together, and like I see the types of struggles that new business owners have, and I feel like there's a lot of FOMO where people are like, well, wait, this person's saying that I need to be on LinkedIn and posting every day. And then this person's saying I need to be working on SEO. And then this person's saying that I need to be doing door-to-door sales, et cetera. So to make sure that you're not missing out, you kind of do a little bit of everything. You kind of like, water this plant a bit and water this plant a bit. And then what happens is that because not one plant gets the right amount of water, they all kind of sprout up, but it's like not quite what they were expecting. And I think in any venture, whether you're, LinkedIn, whether you're whatever, like, go into it with both feet forward, and, don't half-ass something. If you can't get on LinkedIn and really be present and really work that for you, like, yeah, I guess just have a profile, but like, don't expect anything to come from it. And also don't feel bad that nothing comes from it. Like, that's kind of the direction that you're going. But if you're going into online dating, put your best foot forward, like jump into it with both feet and take it seriously. Don't show up to things half-assed, because everyone else can tell.
When you think about on the video front, when we're communicating who we are and putting things out there, specifically for more expertise driven services, people who are really good at what they do, they've got deep insight, they've got experience. We're talking web designers, we're talking developers and marketing companies and consultants, like people who know their stuff. Like, what opportunities do you see that people just aren't really taking advantage of?
Oh man. Okay. So I'm going to say something that might hurt us as video agency owners. Okay. But it's something that I very much believe. If you are a designer, a graphic designer, web designer, if you are a copywriter, it doesn't matter, like whatever, like kind of niche you're into. If I were to go to your website because I wanted to hire you, and I saw a video there that was just of you, like not of us producing a video for them, just them recording a video themselves, talking about like, hey, my name's Matt. This is like my progress, or this is like my process of how I work, and the types of the projects that I work on, and like why I love what I do. That would work so well for so many people, but because they can't do it professionally or properly or the best light or something, they don't do it because they don't want to, they don't want to half-ass it or anything, I guess. But the thing is, when it comes to video, because not many people are doing it, just showing up is often enough. Yeah, you got to make sure you got good audio. That's like the one like key thing I'll say. But for designers, like, oh my God, I have designer friends. I have these, and I've told them, I'm like, open up your laptop, record a video of you working on something and talking through your process. I promise you that will do way more than your entire portfolio, because you're explaining how your brain works and how you think and how, what you're like to work with. They get to get a firsthand experience into who you are and what it's like to work with you. Like, the bar is so low for that. And I feel like almost no one does it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I've straight up told people before where, someone who hasn't, like, yes, video, I want to do it, but I have no money. Like, that, don't let that stop you. Like, I understand that you might want it to look a certain way, but, start here. And if you don't have money, then odds are you probably have more time, or, you can find the time. And I'm not saying go and, learn a new career and develop this whole new skill set to a high level. But, like, there are apps for your phone that are free. Like, there are so many options out there that to record a Loom video, like, to not even edit it, just like, this is what I'm thinking, and, like, that's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I think people would rather put off, like, well, I want to do it right. I don't want to do anything. I'm only going to do it 100% or not at all. Like, that's dumb. Like, you don't tell a first date on if you match with them that, well, I can't afford to take you to the Bellagio, so I guess we can't do anything. What are you talking about? Like, no, you go and start somewhere and then you build up over time.
Totally. Like, there's like, to bring it back to the previous comparison of, like, if you're going to do something, do it with both feet. There's a difference between, like, doing it with both feet and like not doing it at all because you can't do it 100% out of the gate. No one can do it 100% out of the gate. It's more about, like, you set the intention that this is where I'm going to spend my time. This is where I'm going to build. This is, like, the platform or the marketing channel or whatever. And you are committing to doing it, even if you suck at it at first. And yeah, man, like, I think of like, some of the most successful people that I know, they use video, but they only use the selfie camera, and they, like, post on LinkedIn or they post on Instagram or something. And it's not edited at all. They're just talking about what they think and how they feel in their certain industry. And because they just show up, because the bar is so low, they just show up and talk. People are like, that's the expert. Like, people remember that. If you follow 20 designers on Instagram and only one of them shows up to talk about, like, hey, yeah, so I just learned this thing in Figma. The next time you want to hire a designer, you're going to immediately think of that person because you know their face, you know their voice, you see their work. There's another example that I'll share. I was looking at some Webflow expertise. I was looking to hire someone to help me with some Webflow development. And I went on YouTube and I found this girl named Rachel Howe. And I'm not sure exactly where she's from. It might be Malaysia, but she was recording videos about Webflow and about becoming a UX designer. And the crazy thing is, like, I think she was making the videos to appeal to other UX designers. She's like, I'm not a UX designer, but I want to learn to be. So this is my process. This is my progress of, like, learning and understanding. And I'm just sharing what I'm learning. I think her goal was to connect with other UX designers and, like, kind of build the audience around that. But what ended up happening is I found her from a client perspective. And I was like, I need a Webflow developer. I'll hire her. I'll reach out to her. And I did. And she was very kind and very thoughtful with her responses and everything. And she basically said, like, just a heads up, because the channel's grown, I'm getting inquiries left, right, and center. Like, I've had to up my rates, and, like, I'm saying no to 90% of the things that come my way because I just don't have capacity. So unless it's, like, X minimum budget, like, I won't be able to help. And I was like, that's the biggest budget I've ever heard for a UX designer. And I was like, I wasn't mad at all. I was like, amazing. Like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Like, I can't hire you, but amazing. And it wasn't through showing up on YouTube to be like, here's why you should hire me. Here's why I'm the best UX designer. It was the exact opposite. It was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning. And people love that. People like that. That's so much more relatable than, like, showing up and being like, I'm the expert. Listen to what I have to say.
Hey there, if you are hearing this and you think a podcast might be right for your business, then you're in luck. One of the services that we do over at Evoke Media Labs, which is the sponsor of this episode, is create podcasts for busy entrepreneurs like yourself. Having a podcast is an excellent way to showcase your thought leadership, your industry expertise, and build connections within your industry so that you can provide something valuable to your audience in a non-salesy way. Nobody wants to download an ebook in exchange for an email anymore. Having a podcast lets you nurture and build trust with your audience and lets them get to know you a little bit before and up until they're ready to actually have a conversation with you. So if that sounds like something that you want in your business, shoot us a message and we'll see if we're the right fit for you to help you launch and grow your show. All right, back to the episode. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's genuine, which is what people crave. When you on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, everywhere you look, people are talking about me. And, it's I'm the best at this, or I can do this for you. And when you approach them like, this is just what I'm up to. Like, this is like, this is what I'm about. This is kind of what I'm working on. This is kind of like who I'm doing it for. Like, here's a client I did a project with. Like, you're just sharing that. You're creating that. You're shortening the distance between like knowing who you are and like you're letting them in before they actually have a conversation with you, which is like the biggest video hack I think there is.
Yeah. Going back to what you said though, about it not being easy. I'm gonna share an example that it's very recent in my mind. So I'm just going to share this. If you're in the video space, there's someone named Potato Jet who does YouTube videos, and I'm a big fan of his. He also has a side channel called Gene Nagata, which is his real name. And on the main video channel, it's very highly produced. It's very, like rich colors and everything, like good sound design. And on the vlog channel, on the Gene Nagata channel, it's more just quick edits. Like, here's what we're up to. Here's what I'm doing. And he's described the second channel as like, that's kind of more how his brain works. He's got ADHD. He talks about it publicly. And he's like, so he does kind of ADHD edits on that. And it's like, this is more authentic to me. This is more, organic to me. And as someone with ADHD, I resonate with it. I watch it and I'm like, oh, I love this. However, there's a difference even between editing like that. He once put out a video, it was a couple of months ago, and it was 0 edits. It was just like, I'm going to sit down and talk and I'm not going to edit it. And you're going to see how my brain works and how I go through things and how I move off on tangents. And he put the video out and it was a very clear, visual example of how his brain worked. And it was all over the place. It was all over the map. And I was like, wow, that's really like raw. That's really authentic. And I loved it. Then I ran into Potato Jet when I was in Vegas. I saw him randomly and I got the chance to talk to him and talk to Dylan and the rest of them. And I talked to him about that video and I was like, dude, I love that video. I love that you didn't edit it. I love that I get to see the most authentic you. And he was like, yeah, I took that video down. I just feel like, people aren't going to connect with it. I feel like, they're not going to understand it. It's not the best version of me. Even someone that has 1 million followers is still having a hard time really showing that like 100% authentic self. So if someone like him is having trouble showing that authenticity, like of course, someone who's never showed up online is also going to like feel that fear of being judged, fear of like, doing it wrong. Totally understandable, but it's something that I think we all should work.
Yeah, 100%. There's of course that fear that, of being judged or rejected. I think that's a real one of like, we're really terrified to not just have someone have an opinion that I think we can kind of like, well, like I'll get over it. Might sting in the moment, but we'll get over it. To have someone completely reject who we are, what we're about feels really tough. And it's probably more direct in, when people are dating online and it's more because it's you that they're rejecting. But whenever it's our business, especially when we're small, it is very similar. It's like they're saying no because of something about me or my work or like and it sucks. But you said something really interesting earlier. You want to attract the right people. It's not attracting everyone. It's not just appealing to everyone. By nature, we have to disqualify some people. And part of that is going to feel like rejection, but we have to be okay with that.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, I think, having worked alongside many first-time business owners, one of the most common things that I see is like, You can almost tell when someone is going to be successful. Like I feel like I almost have like a spidey sense of like, is this person going to take it and run with it, or are they going to struggle a little bit? And for me, it has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with portfolio or technical skill or anything. It has to do with their level of confidence, and or whether they can turn that confidence on at least for a little bit. And what I mean by that is like, when I started Brand Stories, I didn't know if it was going to work, and I didn't want to press publish on my website. I was like, this is terrifying. But because I was in a situation where like I wasn't at my agency job anymore, it was fight or flight. Like I needed to press publish. I was like, I either do this or I die. So I did it. Um, and it worked. But some people don't want to press publish. They're so afraid of being judged that they would rather not ship the thing and not say the thing or not do the thing than do it and have it not work. So if you can just overcome that internal fear and just do it. I know that sounds so cheesy, but like if you can just show up, like I think that's all it takes in a lot of cases. Like just show up, even if you're like, I don't want to, just do it. Like, because most people are not going to. So by default, if you just do it, like you're ahead of the pack. If you can find the confidence, like some of the most successful business people I know, they just don't care whether it works or not. They're like, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to go. And if it fails, whatever, I don't care. Like I can, roll with the punches. That's the mentality. I still don't even have that. I still overthink everything I do. And I'm like kind of a perfectionist. But the most successful people are just confident and putting it out there, even if it sucks, even if they fail, even if they crash and burn. The people that struggle the most are the most afraid to put it out there, and they will do everything they can to not have to put it out there, which is, that sucks.
Yeah. A core principle in building any relationship, and once I came to understand this, it helped get over a lot of the anxiety and apprehension I had about trying to to do new things, to put stuff out in the world, to be a little more vulnerable, to take my business further than it had gone before. And that was, most of it comes down to frequency. Like if you show up over and over and over again for a consistent, sustained period of time, like you are going to develop relationships with people. It can't not happen. So if you just show up and you know what you're talking about, you know what your core message is, like what your values are, and you just communicate that over and over and over and over and over again, people will be drawn to it. Like some people are going to come in and they will leave right away. Some people will come in and they'll kind of lurk and you won't hear anything from them, but they're there. Other people will come in right away and like become friends or coworkers or employees or contractors or clients. And it's a long game. It's a different tweak in how we approach things. Like you just have to put stuff out there. And the same can be said for dating. Like the more lines you have in the water, right? Like if you match with 1,000 people, something's going to happen. If you match with 5, it's harder to say.
Yeah, dude. Like the consistency. So what is the word that you used? It wasn't consistency. It was yeah. That's my ADHD brain going off. But I like 100% agree. It's consistency. That's all it is. There's YouTubers like Ali Abdaal, and he's like, I think he's got like 4 million followers. And his advice is put out 100 videos that suck. Like just get those out of the way, because the only thing that's going to like make you be successful is just consistency. You just have to do it every week, like rain or shine, and that's it. You will learn everything else along the way if you can just be consistent. There's a stat, I think it's like something like 98% of podcasts fail because they never get past episode 5. In anything, whether it's video production, whether it's photography, it doesn't matter. Like as long as you keep showing up and keep doing it, you have to get better at it. And as you do it, you'll start to see the rough edges and you'll kind of like course correct and keep doing better. That comes for everything. Posting on LinkedIn. Like I think a lot of people think like, and I see this in the Facebook groups that they're in as well. Someone will be like, well, I tried posting on LinkedIn for like a week and I didn't get any sales. It's like, that's not how it works at all. Like there has been cases where I've posted on LinkedIn once and it like blew up, but I'm like, I didn't expect that, and that's not what I like anticipated, and that's cool when it happens. But the key is going to LinkedIn and posting, twice a week for 12 weeks in a row. Like that's where the magic happens. When it comes to dating, like, yeah, like the first date that you go on, it's going to be a little awkward. Second one, you're going to be like, oh, I'll know not to bring up the topic of the ex-boyfriend. Third one, you start to really develop your stride. But you cannot develop the stride unless you do it shitty first, unless you like don't know what you're doing at first. And that's just the way it is with anything, with literally anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw you share something a little while back about how you were shifting from making your life about your businesses to making your business about your life. Can you just share some of the things you're doing to make that shift possible?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned about myself through having these businesses is that like in the beginning, I thought like, I hate to say this, but I thought that my targets were all around money, where it's like, I want to make X amount per month. I want to make X amount per month. There was actually one month near the beginning of my business where I sat down with my girlfriend at the time and I was like, I think that we can both set targets to reach a certain milestone, one that we've never reached before, one that seems out of reach, and hit those milestones. And for me, it was making $20,000 in a month. And we printed, like we made little like diagrams and printed them off and put them on the fridge. And for her, it was like, I think it was like make $1,000 in a month from her like side gig. And we hit them. Like, and I was like, oh my God, like, $20,000. But then when I realized to hit that amount of money, the amount of work and time and effort it would take, I burnt out pretty quickly afterwards. So then after that, I transitioned. I'm like, okay, if it's not about money, like, how do I set goals for myself? And, how do I build this business in a way that, is healthy for me, and in a way that I'm not going to burn out, in a way that like, if I hit the goals, I will feel even better. For me, it's not about the money anymore. And it's more about how do I build the business to serve my life and serve my lifestyle and the life that I want to have. And for me, that is, I want to have freedom. I want to have flexibility. I want to be able to go to the park on a sunny day and not think twice about it and have a nap if that's what I want to do. I want to work with really good people. I want to be able to travel and stuff like that. So for me, it was a distinction between like, well, that's how I want to live my life. How do I build my business kind of around that rather than build my life around my business? In the first couple of years of running Brand Stories, I had no control over where I was going to be, like, travel and stuff. I was traveling, but it was for work and I often didn't want to be there. I had no control over that. I had no control over my time. And for some people, like that's totally fine. That's great. Like it doesn't matter. It fits with their lifestyle. But for me, it just wasn't the way that I wanted to live my day-to-day life. My life was revolving around my business, and I wanted to transition that to be the opposite way around. And that's when I decided, in order for me to do that, I needed to scale, and I needed to scale in a certain direction where everything wasn't on my shoulders and I could, go to different markets without having to actually be there. And for me in my business specifically, it meant hiring a team. And last November, I burned out harder than I ever have. I had a month where it was like the best month in business ever. And then I crashed and burned to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed. And I was like, okay, I'm taking 2 months off. Let's reassess. Let's reevaluate. In December, I was like after taking all of November off, I was like, I'm going to build my business in a different direction. I'm going to hire people. I'm going to move it in this way, shift the boat in this direction. And I hired in 10 cities like New York, Chicago, LA. It was a crazy month. Like it was a crazy month of hiring and building and stuff like that. But once I did that, everything in my business has changed. Everything. And suddenly I was hitting the same revenue targets without me having to, show up each day and do the work myself. I was able to delegate, and I was able to work with amazing photographers who, for them, it's a win-win as well, because I get to pay them really well. And, I just built the whole business to be a win-win-win. It's a win for me because it's my business, of course, and I get to take a cut of all the work that comes in. It's a win for the photographers because they're getting paid $300 an hour. And then it's a win for the clients because they're getting photos that can help them find love and connect, and it's life changing in that way. But it wasn't always obvious to build it in that direction, and like it was going in a different direction for a long time. I had to be very intentional about like, what do I want my life to look like, and how do I build this in a way that will support that lifestyle? And yeah, that's kind of how that worked out.
Yeah. And I think I have no idea where I heard this, who said it, but I heard that like the two levels of success in business, you get successful in the first way by saying yes to everything, and then you start saying no to everything. And where you start now positioning, like you get very selective on how you use your energy, your focus, your resources, because now you've gotten to a point where like you can do it the first way. Like you can just be busy, you can do it all yourself. You're now skilled enough to command a high rate or to generate demand. But there reaches a point where unless that's what you love to do, like you just love the technical side of it, which is fine. Like if you just want to be the person who does the work, then that's okay. But if you're trying to build a business where it can give you freedom and leverage and like flexibility, then you need to think about it in a different way. And I think you've done it in a really smart, like to do what you're doing at not be in the country, like to be, you're going across, what, 3 or 4 time zones. You've got people in different cities, you've got, 2 countries involved, like the coordination aspect of it. You have to think about that in a very different way versus like, I'm going to do a job in Chicago or I'm going to do a job in Toronto. Logistically, it would be frantic. It would be a nightmare. But because now you've pulled in other talent and you're now kind of the strategic mastermind of it, now you've got a much bigger opportunity vehicle.
Yeah. And, it's like, I thought that by going this route that I would have to give up money or finances, right? Like I went from like shooting everything myself and taking 100% of the cut to now taking less than 50%. And I'm like, well, my revenue is going to take a hit. Like, is this something I really want to do? Do I want to give up this control? Are they going to do it as well as me? And what I learned through the process, and again, like only getting to this process because I burnt out and I was like, I need to find another way.
Yeah.
What I learned was that, well, when you delegate, you're no longer limited to your effort and your time constraints. When you can spread that across 10 plus people, more clients can come and you can get, so actually revenue wise, like I'm doing better than I was before, with, I don't want to say less work because it's still a lot of work. It's different work. But yeah, man, what you said, like, I think, I've thought a lot about this. For me, I had to get to a point where it was like, something needs to change. And then I change it. There was like a catalyst for growth. We both know Marcus Rideout. For him, it was reaching a certain level of like debt and not having his finances in order. And then it was a car crash. And after that, he's like, I'm changing things. I'm going on a different direction. I would love to say that it's possible to be like, say yes to everything, say yes to everything, say yes to everything, and then smoothly start to say no to everything, say no to everything. But I've actually never seen that happen. I've in all the cases that I can recall, you say yes to everything, and you should absolutely in the beginning say yes to everything that comes your way. And then you'll probably reach a breaking point, and then you're like, I got to find a different way. And then you start to say no and start to say no. For me, personally, in my life, in my business life, I say no to, I think like probably 80 to 90% of the things that come my way. But you can do that when you know that by saying no to that thing, you can say yes to the things you actually care about and the things that actually matter. But you don't know what those things are in the beginning. So you just got to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks and see what you resonate with. And eventually you start to fine tune it and, kind of narrow it down.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just comes with time and experience, and that can be broadly applied to everything we've talked about today. But Justin, it has been a real pleasure. I very much appreciate your time today. I've appreciated all the value that you've given back into our shared groups, and I think, I mean, a lot of people in said groups have looked at what you've built as kind of an example of like, this is possible. Because when you're in early days and you're like trying to just make anything happen, it can be easy to kind of lose sight of what is going to be possible eventually. And I think you've created seeing even your journey now and your pivots now, you've been upfront and honest about it. And I think it creates a better conversation for like, this is, it doesn't just get easy once you learn how to make sales. There's a journey that all of us are going to go through. And you've done a really good job of sharing that. So thank you for all of that.
Sweet, dude. Thanks. I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's been awesome to finally chat with you in depth rather than just through a couple Facebook messages. I really love what you're doing here at the podcast, and I love the direction that it's going, and everything that you're covering. It's not like I thought in the beginning. It's more focused around the video aspect, but it's more focused on the people behind the businesses, the people behind the video, and I'm a big fan. So keep doing what you're doing.
Have looked at what you've built as kind of an example of like, this is possible. Because when you're in early days and you're like trying to just make anything happen, it can be easy to kind of lose sight of what is going to be possible eventually. And I think you've created seeing even your journey now and your pivots now, you've been upfront and honest about it. And I think it creates a better conversation for like, this is, it doesn't just get easy once you learn how to make sales. There's a journey that all of us are going to go through. And you've done a really good job of sharing that. So thank you for all of that.
Sweet, dude. Thanks. I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's been awesome to finally chat with you in depth rather than just through a couple Facebook messages. I really love what you're doing here at the podcast, and I love the direction that it's going, and everything that you're covering. It's not like I thought in the beginning. It's more focused around the video aspect, but it's more focused on the people behind the businesses, the people behind the video, and I'm a big fan. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of CEOs on Video. I hope you got something valuable from it. If you liked this episode of CEOs on Video, be sure to let us know by giving us a follow. Leave us a rating on Apple Music. It would mean the world to us. So let us know what you like, what you didn't, and if there's anything that we can do to help you, be sure to reach out. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.